What kind of pressure did you have in Golden Gloves with your dad being Sugar Ray Leonard? Oh my God.
So this is when I realized I wasn't going to be a fighter.
Okay.
You know, one of my first fights, I knew I had a lot more anger and football moxie in me, because I win the first round. I'm fighting this guy that's way older than me. And then the second round, he starts getting me a little bit, start pushing me around. He's bigger and taller. I got so angry, I went back to the ring, to the corner, and then my trainer took my mouthpiece out of my mouth, and I bit his finger because I couldn't wait to get back out. And I charged out that last round, tackling him through the ring. I said, maybe I should be playing a different sport.
There is a movie called The Fighter about Mickey Ward, who was played by Mark Wahlberg. Great film. Mickey's older brother is a guy named Dickie Eklund, and he plays a prominent role in the movie as a former boxer who is now a drug addict. His claim to fame in life and in the movie is that he knocked down the legendary Sugar Ray Leonard. He didn't beat him. He knocked him down. That's all he talked about. Leonard won the fight, but here Eklund, a former pro boxer with a lot to talk about, a decade plus later, all he talks about is when he knocked down Sugar Ray Leonard. A dude that played football with my cousin in high school, played against me my senior year. He was a safety. I played tight end. He hit me on a seam route, and admittedly, I dropped the pass. It was a good hit. I was an All-American going to Notre Dame the following year. I still hear about this story on and off to this day. When I played at Notre Dame, Lou Holtz, our coach, used to regularly say that we are getting everyone's best shot every week. This week was always Purdue's, Navy's, or Boston College's national championship. They're coming ready to play because they're playing Notre Dame. Two ways to look at this. On one hand, if you are the subject, then this is a huge compliment. But on the other hand, if you are the one saying it, and that other person doesn't give a shit about the incident or you, then you aren't putting yourself up. You are putting yourself down when you tell those stories. What do you think the ratio is of how many times Sugar Ray told that story versus Dickie Eklund? He had to tell the story because it's all he had. Have more. And that's my point. Of course, man, share your cool experiences or celebrity encounters or whatever, but don't let it define you. Define yourself. My guest today is someone that has made quite the name for himself in the business world. Granted, maybe he had a bit of a springboard with the name Ray Leonard Jr., but after a few encounters with this guy, you quickly lose sight that he is the son of the legendary boxer. Albeit he certainly doesn't hide from his family lineage, but man, this dude has quite the list of accomplishments and fits perfectly with our show. Ray Leonard Jr. is a husband and a father of 4 wonderful children and believes young people need a strong sense of their strengths, abilities, interests, and values. He has dedicated his life to helping others through his commitment to being better every day. As an active supporter of many causes and a youth coach and mentor, Ray brings energy, excitement, and insight to any setting. Known to always light a room when he walks in, Ray is a top motivational keynote speaker, radio host, podcast host, actor, and award-winning business executive. And I've met him a few times, just an all-around good dude. I first met Ray at a Las Vegas Knights game last fall. We hit it off immediately. You know, there's a lot of people there, but we kind of gravitated towards each other. I shared a funny story with him about meeting his dad one day at a restaurant in Santa Monica randomly. And, you know, we just kind of took it from there. And now here he is on my podcast. Ray is a partner with No Name Studios, which is making waves in the venture capital space. And he's also the CEO of Ovations, which we're going to talk about. Not to mention the founder of Leonard Sports and Entertainment. Ray Leonard Jr., welcome to 2000% Raise.
Hey, thanks, John, for having me.
You get,
I got a little swollen face right now because I just had dental surgery, but the show must go on. Most people think I got hit by my father.
well, most people just listen on audio, I think, but we do post this on YouTube. So any of the YouTube audience, actually, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, go look at the YouTube. He does look like he got hit around a little bit. Get around a little bit. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Glencrest Global. Glencrest Global is a Chicago and Los Angeles-based venture capital firm that is involved in interesting companies with interesting founders. To see some of Glencrest Global's investments, visit glencrestglobal.com. We're going to get into your business endeavors, man, and that's going to really be the subject of this show, and that's what 2000% Raise is all about. It's about raising your standard, growing professionally. But you have a cool background, and I think you're going to be able to touch on a few things that could help our audience. First and foremost, I think our audience is going to be like, okay, did he box? I don't know if he boxed. I didn't ask him, but I'm going to tell you what, he played Division I athletics. And was it boxing, Ray? I'm not even sure.
No. I mean, I boxed when I was younger. Of course, my family, my grandfather was a boxer in the Navy. My uncle was the number 2 ranked contender in the world. My father was pretty decent, and then my grandmother was probably the best fighter out of all of us. But yeah, I mean, so like you had to be in the gym. So early on, I did some Golden Gloves and did really well. But then I found the football, the track and field, and became really, really good at both of those sports. And the team thing kind of gravitated towards me just because I was kind of isolated with being in the spotlight with my father and my family. So
gotcha.
I ran track and field in high school. I was a state champion in hurdles, and one of the top running backs and receivers out of Maryland. But it's funny that you bring up that story about Dick Heckman.
Yeah,
because that's one of the things that happened to me. I lost one race in high school in hurdles. One race, my whole entire time. And the guy that beat me, he beat me because I hit a hurdle. But that's his story, his claim to fame. He beat me by 1/10 of a second.
He talks about, I beat Ray Leonard Jr. in hurdle.
Oh man, it's posted on Facebook all the time. Like every year, I see the same memory come back. It's like, man, find something else to talk about. Dude, I didn't even remember it.
Isn't that so funny? But you know what? The funniest part of that shit is? It's when you find yourself accidentally on the other end of it. Randy Moss was on TV. This was a few years ago, and I started telling this story about how me and Randy Moss were in the same recruiting class and did our visit at Notre Dame together. And I'm like, why the fuck am I telling this story? I guarantee Randy Moss has never told this story about me and me.
It's cool. I mean, it's all good, like you said, to have a cool story, but not to be the defining moment in your life.
That's right. Well said. Thanks for reiterating my point on that. I went full circle on that. But hey, man, another thing before we get into your businesses that I thought could be some pretty cool damn insight from you. You were 7 years old. It was the early 1980s. Me and you were about the same age. And you were, if there was a word for viral back then, it would have went viral. He was the cute little 7-year-old boxing in the 7-Up commercial with his dad, and it caught the nation's heart. And I can tell you, I don't remember it. But you know what? When you watch something on YouTube and then you look at it, it's like, do I remember it? Because it did feel familiar. Mm-hmm. But obviously, it was a huge thing. So the reason I'm bringing that up is you've been in the public spotlight for since then, even prior. Your dad is exactly who your dad is, right? And the cool thing about the movie The Fighter is, even if you're not a boxing fan and you're a Mark Wahlberg fan, oh shit, yeah, Sugar Ray Leonard in that movie, you know what I mean? So it's really a broad thing, but you've done such an amazing job, Ray, with building your own brand and standing out on your own. Could you talk about the balancing act between capitalizing, you'd be an idiot not to, capitalizing on who your dad is, but also giving yourself your own identity?
Yeah, that's always been like a big thing, a defining factor for me. So when I was born, my parents were teenagers. My mother was 15, my father was 16. We had nothing. And then all of a sudden we're thrust into celebrity, several years later when my father wins the Olympics. And then we do that commercial, the 7-Up commercial, which became a household thing. Like you said, nowadays it would be the big viral thing. Yep. I'm still mad that they're not paying me anymore. But on the other But,
As he opens up a Sprite and chugs it.
exactly. But on the other side of that, it was always important for me to have my identity. It's my grandfather humbled me at an early age, and he told me, know better, do better. And I got to be around all these people as I traveled with my father to different places, from the Queen of England to Nelson Mandela, and see, that people who were born into average situations can become exceptional. So for me, I didn't think of it as being a situation where I have to just follow in my father's footsteps to leverage my notoriety, but I could be good by myself. And, you got to use what you got sometimes too.
Yeah. That must have been an incredible experience. How old were you when you met Mandela?
Man, I was about 12 years old. Okay. I met him actually several times. I have some cool pictures when I was older too, when I was about 18. So
really?
Yeah, it's insane to go while you're in it, especially as a young kid as I was. I didn't really, appreciate all these people that I was running into. So it's insane.
Well, it's funny. We've talked about this on another episode about like celebrity encounters, and then there's just some like there's some like next level shit. We had a guy that is buddies randomly with the author Stephen King, and it's like, dude, that's kind of freaking like, it doesn't happen every day. And now here you are one upping him with Nelson Mandela.
I have some pictures, man. I have a picture with just me, James Baldwin, Sammy Davis Jr. and Bill Cosby. So,
wow, man, wow,
yeah. Well, that's a story in itself.
That's cool, dude. That's cool. I'm going to tell you what, and I'd put your dad in that category. I'm going to tell you right now. I alluded to it in my monologue. I was at a little Italian restaurant, maybe about 15, probably 20 or 30 tables in there. It was during COVID. It was outside a little Italian joint in Santa Monica. And I'm sitting down, and the guy at the table, the rest of the party didn't come yet. And the guy goes, I think that's Sugar Ray Leonard behind us. Oh shit. So I'm going to ask him, I'm going to just say hi and ask him for a picture or something. But I don't know. Maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't. Well, the other person we're waiting for, I didn't say his name, but I've told you this story before. I didn't say his name. He's a celebrity. He comes in, they're friends. And it was awesome. We all said hi. But now I'm going to lose cool points if I ask him for a picture. So I just got to be like, all right, cool. They all know each other. Cool. Hey, man, I'm in the crowd. So anyway.
There you go. Yeah, you go. You're in the circle of trust.
Exactly. I can't be that guy now. I could have until my guy showed up. It's buddies with him. But anyway, the last thing about your dad, and it's a segue into really what you do for a living. All right. I obviously looked into you a little bit on the internet prior to this interview, and you're an exceptional keynote speaker. You're a motivational speaker. I came across one that you did that was for suicide awareness. Now, we had a guy on the show before named Michael Unbroken. He does a lot with trauma survivors, and we don't really broach this topic that much because it really is a business podcast, but it's well received by our audience when we do touch on it. Your dad has been public about depression, about suffering from depression. And here I see you as doing speeches to a suicide awareness group. Was there a connection there, or was that just a coincidence?
No, there's an absolute connection with all the different mental health and trauma things. And you can imagine being African-American teenagers and with a young kid, and then being thrust into celebrity and having everything that you do be put on camera. And, that you want to be front facing with everything that you do, but there's certain things that happen while you're learning and growing as a person that, can be traumatic. And if you don't have an outlet or know the right things to do to be able to deal with it, it can build up. And that happened a lot with my family. So unfortunately, we had the issues of drug and alcohol abuse all through my family. Had mental health issues with suicide, attempts by my father and my mother.
Oh wow, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot that we don't share, really outside of us internally, but we've learned that for us to be healthy, we have to be able to share with others. And so that became the reason why I speak out about it, because I've been through basically all of the things that destructive behaviors that we talk about.
Wow. Wow. And I got to tell you, man, I got to think that just awareness that you're doing it is probably part of it. I won't comment further on that because I don't know what I'm talking about, but just the way you just said it seems very enlightening.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't know I needed it until I knew I needed it.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
until I first had the courage to speak about it.
Does everybody need to kind of hit rock bottom to discover they need it, or could you pull yourself out of it before that happens?
Yeah, I think you can pull yourself out of it before it happens. It's just noticing when the spiral happens.
Gotcha.
Noticing when you're in that situation and there's triggers and there's things that you see, but us, especially as alpha people or people that don't think traditionally that you can have an issue, that you don't notice it because you always think you can pull out of it.
Gotcha. We talk about movies on the show. My final question to you is going to be what's your movie you recommend, but you're just making me think of one of my favorites right now, Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage, and it's happening. Everyone sees it happening. He's going and alcoholism and, until he dies finally from it. And everyone else is watching. He's got to see it himself and pull himself out of it. And is that, so you have let's segue out of that, but you have a podcast called Know Better, Do Better. Is this, tell me about that.
Yeah. So, it started during the beginning of the pandemic when I couldn't go out and speak to the audiences and crowds. I was going to have my biggest year ever. I had 60-page speeches booked. And I was like, man, what else am I going to do to keep this brand out there, to keep talking to people so I won't go insane? And, I developed a podcast and just started talking to people and interviewing people because there was curiosity about background stories. I watched so many documentaries, but most of the documentaries, they were phased in that they wouldn't tell, they told the story from a perspective of what other people thought. And so I want to tell the perspective of what people actually think in their worst moments and how they get to their best moments.
Gotcha. Awesome. You see that shift. There's really an explosion of podcasts, right? During the pandemic. And obviously you're a person with a following. You're not just some dude in the basement. You know what I mean? So it's I'm sure was successful right out of the gates. That's awesome. And, so I met with one of your partners. We were at Soho House in the West Hollywood one. And it was shortly after you and I encountered each other in Vegas. And this was a partner with Nobody Studios, it's called, which is a venture studio for our audience. And I got to tell you, one of the things I look for in this entrepreneurial space, Ray, is that people that are going to follow up and do what they say they're going to do. And I got to tell you, Ray, you and I met, we enjoyed that game together. We hung out a little bit. Shortly thereafter, I already had an email waiting for me. A few days later, one of your partners drove all the way up from Orange County to meet me for lunch at Soho House, to tell me about what Nobody Studios is doing. So before we get into Ovations, could you kind of just give everybody the landscape? Now, understand that we don't all have, these are not all angel investors and venture capitalists on here. So maybe explain, the whole idea behind it.
Yeah, the whole idea behind it is to be an entrepreneurial space that builds companies and give the bit larger opportunity to other people that have been basically shut out of the VC game. You had to be an accredited investor. You needed a certain credit score. You needed a certain amount of things to be involved. But one of the things that we're doing at Studio as we're building companies is having a crowdfunding round, which we have right now, and we're allowing an investment to be as little as $100. For people to come in and be a part of the journey, because we believe that the power is in the people. The more people that we have that are invested in what we're doing, the better opportunity we'll have for success with each one of the companies. So, I never really knew a whole lot about the venture world besides the venture capital stuff I saw from Facebook or from the movies with Sequoia Capital and those big things.
Yep.
And how they just they fund the world. They fund all these companies, and they balance it out.
Right.
So when I just had the opportunity to get involved in it, I said, okay, this is something that I really can believe in and move forward with.
To give some perspective, there's venture capital like funds that might have millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars like that to throw at things. And then there's family offices, like the easiest one would be like the Sam Walton's family office. But then there's much smaller ones that are writing $100,000 checks, $500,000 checks. And then what Ray's talking about here with Nobody Studios is getting their companies to fall under their umbrella as part of Nobody and allow, you don't have to, because a lot of times these companies will have $25,000, $50,000 minimum checks in the early stages. And then as it goes, those go up to $500,000 pretty damn quick. So, this is giving people the opportunity to put in, like he said, $100, $500, $1,000, participate in this. So check out Nobody Studios. It's these guys are all over it. I will tell you that they are literally all over it, and it's pretty damn impressive. Special shout out to my good friend Jay, who works at Cameramatics. Entrepreneurs rely on their assets, mainly work trucks with their company's logo on the side. Why not add another layer of protection with Cameramatics? They will track your mobile profit centers while they're being driven and give you real-time video footage to accompany your success. Oh wait, did I mention the insurance premiums like, reduced premiums? For more information, contact one of my old pals, Jay, at JCANTWELL at Cameramatics.com. That's Jay Cantwell at Cameramatics.com. JCANTWELL at Cameramatics.com. So now let's transition. Your baby, or maybe you have 4 kids. Is this your 5th child now? Ovation?
Yeah, this is my 5th child.
Okay.
This is my 5th child right now. So, all of them have been pretty successful in their own right. So we're doing something right by building a good base. But as I said, Ovations took hold when I lost damn near most of my income for the year for the pandemic hit. And I was speaking in Bahrain and Japan. I mean, all over the world. But then it just came up really quickly and it stopped. So I still wanted to be able to connect with the audience. I still wanted to find a space where we can continue the education and change kind of the education model. I wanted to have an opportunity where great stories can be told and people could connect directly to people that want to hire them. So you see with the monetization of how it happens with the TikTok and all of these things that turn social media, how quickly people can monetize themselves by leveraging their brand.
Yep.
So what Ovations does is allow for that from a speaking, coaching, and consulting standpoint. To connect directly with people that want to hire, not just locally, but globally. So you get to connect directly with a global audience and do it in smaller fractions of time.
Gotcha.
So you're building it up. You own your own intellectual property on Ovations. So, it's the one-stop shop for, speakers, coaches, and consultants.
As you've grown this now and as you're getting going, what are you finding to be more difficult? Finding the speakers that want to be engaged as part of your inventory, or the customers to come use the app?
Yeah, so it's always when you have a marketplace, there's a balance, right? And so our secret sauce basically is owning the opportunity. So having the right amount of speakers with the right amount of people that want to hire them. So I think that the big part of the key has been getting the people that want to hire, right? And having at least our top 2 when I call my Uber topics, because I didn't want to attack everything. So having the top tier people in each one of these 10 areas that we know who are quality control. We're not just putting anybody out there. Because if I say here we're gonna have an ovation worthy event or Ovations, when someone comes to you that you hire, they have to be ovation worthy.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's interesting. The whole supply and demand side, that balance. That's an interesting comment. For any of our listeners that remember episode 4, we had a guy named Zach Oliver on that developed an app called Matchpoint, and it was capitalizing on the student athletes that can now get paid in college under NIL, name, image, likeness. And they've had a great job of getting these kids to all set up profiles, but the companies that aren't necessarily running to that space as fast as a lot of people thought they were. It has nothing to do with his app, just the companies aren't all running to that space. So, that's interesting.
It's a learning space for the companies also, to be able to come to a place that makes it, a lot easier for them to move forward and hire the right people, because they spend a ton of money on information technology, they spend a ton of money on research and all these different things. And if they go to somewhere and it doesn't, add up, then, it causes an issue for everybody, because bad news travels way faster than good news.
Yep. You know, I want to tell you what, man, years and years and years ago, I used to be a concert promoter when in my early 20s, and I tried to book Public Enemy. This is way after their prime. And I sent a cashier's check to these guys in New York for like 12 grand. That was supposed to be a deposit. And I never heard from anyone again.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that. I know that space all too well.
Yeah.
I was a rapper and a manager. Me as an agent for a long time. I got to see that, and even when I did some events, just trying to find the right people. Now on the internet, you'll see 100 people with websites that say they can help you hire one of these people, and there's not the trusted space that's actually there that really helps you do it.
Yeah, that's funny. So wait, so what's the So what's the process for you?
12 grand.
Exactly. That's what, dude, I was like 22, bro. I was sitting there collecting $10 covers at the doors at these nightclubs and bars forever. I'm gonna expand now. I'm gonna do a big event. We're gonna sell our tickets through Ticketmaster. Worked out this deal with the venue. We're gonna sell 1,200 tickets. Public Enemy was kind of
man.
Yeah, dude. It was gonna be my big break, bro.
Oh man. I know that space all too well.
I was just getting excited about meeting Chuck D and Flavor Flav. That's all I cared about. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
So and that, I'm glad we brought that up, man, because you just got a chance for the audience to get a glimpse. We got an entrepreneur here. We got a businessman here, and he just touched on two other areas that he was involved in that have nothing to do with this podcast. And you get a lot of entrepreneurs out there. Everyone's journey looks a little bit different. But a lot of us had our hands in a lot of different things along the way. And then you find that one that's either you're really good at it or it's the most profitable and gravitate there, right? So what was the process? And I only got a couple more questions for you, but what was the process, Ray, before Ovations? All right. Well, and it still exists. It's not like Ovations has taken over the world yet, right? But
not yet.
If I'm Kraft Foods, and I want to look at Ray Leonard to come talk at our annual sales conference next fall, how would I get in touch with you? How would I even know where to start?
Yeah. So before, you'd have to go through mostly the speakers bureaus. You go through one of the agents and managers, handlers, and all these different people, and you go back and forth negotiating, trying to figure out how it happens or how it gets done. You don't really get to see, whether they fit into actually what you do. You just use a lot of times a celebrity in the name or whatever, their reputation beforehand.
Okay.
And you don't actually get to see it and have that really conversation. So now with Ovations, you can go directly onto the site, search the people who are in the space and kind of have the conversations back and forth to what you actually want to accomplish. And then you can get a small snippet of what they can do before you spend a whole bunch of money on bringing them out to you and getting all this stuff going. So it's a much easier, simpler process. They're verified profiles. People that are on the platform are professionals. They call you back. They show up when they're supposed to show up.
Yep.
They won't take the $12,000 deposit and not show up.
use it for beer money.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you what's the metric you use for that target audience? Is it the marketing departments of companies with at least 1,000 employees? Is it only Fortune 500 companies or?
No, it can be like we're building emerging bookers or people who may be the sales manager at Des Moines, Iowa that wants to make their sales meeting better.
Okay.
So you don't have to spend a whole bunch, and you don't have to be a professional planner to do it. You can go in there, and the process is way easier to get somebody that you maybe never thought you could have come speak for you, but do it in a smaller fraction of time.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, cool. All right, man, we're gonna wind down here. Hopefully everyone's been paying attention. Hopefully everyone checks out Nobody's Studios. You're gonna want to stay on for these last two questions. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna want to stay on for these last two questions. All right, but everyone check out Nobody's Studios. Look at the companies that they have under them, or become an investor. Better yet, although this is not a solicitation for investing, but do what you want there if you want to. All right. In my research, Ray, I did not realize this. We alluded to it in the beginning, bro. All right. So I actually watched the clip of Dickie Eklund knocking your dad down. All right. Okay. It looks like he tripped him. What's your dad's position on this if he has a position? It doesn't look like a clean knockdown to me.
his position, it was 100% trip. He said there's no way that guy could have ever knocked it down. He loved Dick Eklund. He even made the cameo in the movie.
Yep.
In the fighter. So yeah, he loved Dick and Mark, and so it was hilarious, that he kept going on with this story. Like really nobody else picked it up, besides his folks in Boston.
Okay.
We had a tumultuous relationship with Boston because of him and Hank. So, but yeah, it was definitely not something that my father really paid attention to. But it was funny to him that he said, if you look at it, he's like, usually gets a trip.
You don't even have to be a boxing guy. You see him tripping on it. But they called it a knockdown in the fight, though, right?
Yeah. They called it a knockdown and he waved it off.
Yeah. They ended up waving it off on top of that. Now that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And for those that aren't familiar with the movie, I know your dad's cameo. I'm assuming he played himself in that cameo, correct?
Yeah. He played himself in the cameo. But that's a good movie.
Yeah, it is. Well, and honestly, that cameo, that's a hilarious line. I've thought this before, even preparing for this interview. That's a damn freaking, it's a telling point in that movie because Sugar Ray's walking out. It's got a bunch of people around him, entourage. Dickie's being filmed, okay? Dickie's being filmed because they're doing a story about how people freaking a drug problem got documentary on him, okay?
Right.
But Dickie's telling them, he's telling everyone it's about his comeback story. And I don't even know if I don't know if they just made that in Hollywood, if that was really what was going on. But he goes up to Sugar Ray. He goes, hey man. They happen to be in the same room at the same time. And Sugar Ray's like, hey man, good to see you. Dickie's on crack. He looks at him, hey man, good to see you. Hey, Dickie, what's this movie about, man? He's like, my comeback. Okay. And it was that point right there, because us as the audience, we didn't know yet that he was lying about the documentary. So anyway, that was tell your dad that was a pivotal part of the movie. I kind of feel like it probably didn't go down exactly like that, but we loved the Mickey Ward and Dick Eklund, man, all those guys. The fighting community is a small community, so we all have a big affinity for each other. Gotcha.
And it's funny stories too,
dude. And what I don't want to move backward. We talked about it earlier, but gosh, man, it just dawned on me. You were in Golden Gloves. I mean, what kind of pressure did you have in Golden Gloves with your dad being Sugar Ray Leonard? Oh my God.
So this is when I realized I wasn't going to be a fighter.
Okay.
One of my first fights, I knew I had a lot more anger and football moxie in me, because I win the first round. I'm fighting this guy that's way older than me, and then the second round, he starts getting me a little bit, start pushing me around. He's bigger and taller. I got so angry, I went back to the ring, to the corner, and then my trainer took my mouthpiece out of my mouth, and I bit his finger because I couldn't wait to get back out, and I charged out that last round, tackling him through the ring. And I said, maybe I should be playing a different sport.
That's awesome. And then you were a star. You said running back and receiver in high school. What was your? We got a lot of former football players on here, man. What was your 40 time?
4.38.
What?
4.38. Yeah. So I still had the record in the Washington D.C. Maryland area for the 300-meter hurdles. And I think somebody just broke my record for the 110 hurdles.
Wow, dude, I was not expecting that answer. No, I'm glad I asked you that.
Not seeing me being a hurdler.
We're both being a little Al Bundy-ish right now with these old stories.
Yeah, but take it back.
I mean, I thought you were going to say like 4.51 or something. Oh, that's good. And he says 4.38. Holy shit!
No. I was fast, a fast runner. My father was fast at the hands, so I was a fast runner.
That's awesome, man. Well, you picked the right direction, it sounds like. So, listen, last but not least, I mean, we spent half the episode now talking about damn movies, but we always ask our guests to leave our audience with a movie recommendation.
Yeah. So my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, my kids know because I sit and watch these same movies over and over again, is Gladiator.
Gladiator.
So what we do when and he says what we do today will echo in eternity.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean,
Boom.
that's kind of, my thought process of every single day. That's why I just love the whole concept behind the movie that you're fighting for.
Yep.
Fighting for your family and your life every single day.
Have you ever been to the Colosseum in Rome?
I have.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
And it's the experience. Like you can actually feel the spirits of the people that were there before.
Yep. Yep.
So, it's that the energy is just different. So, it was actually just recently too that I was over there. It was right before the pandemic.
Is that right? I was just there last summer with my kids, and they didn't fully understand that. And then when we got back from Europe, I made them watch the movie Gladiator, and they're like, "Oh wow, we were there," So anyway,
yeah, they're like, what happened up there?
Yeah, exactly. Remember when the tire was coming out of the ground? Oh yeah, now you see it's all coming together for you. We went there when we just had landed, and like the day of that, because we landed like when you go from Chicago to Europe, it's like you land at 9 a.m. if you time it up right, and it was literally 104 degrees. Everyone that's jet lag. They're like, oh, let's go to the Coliseum, kids. I'm like,
yeah, it's terrible.
Well, hey man, I knew this was going to be a great interview. You and I, my LA place is not too far from where you're at. We're going to continue to stay in touch, and you've been an awesome guest for the show. Thanks, Ray Leonard Jr.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. Yeah. You want to find me? Just go to RayLeonardJr.com.
Ray is actually pretty active, by the way, on Instagram, and he has some good business insight. But pay attention; you might see him like dancing at a wedding or some shit like that.
You got to have some fun, then.
Yeah, that's right. And that wraps up another episode of 2000% Raise. Thank you for listening. The best way to support our show is by leaving a rating or review on all platforms you listened on. And of course, by following, liking, or subscribing. Visit us at 2000%raise.com or at John Cerasani on TikTok and Instagram. And of course, my YouTube channel at John Cerasani's 2000% Raise. Find all the ways to follow today's guests in our show notes. Thank you for being a part of our entrepreneurial journey.